Vincent, it is so good to see you, brother, here in National Harbor. Here we're in Washington, D.C. at your wonderful store. I just want to take you back to when you first started in the men's clothing business in San Antonio, Texas. Take me back to San Antonio when you first started in the rag trade.
So my story is this. Started back in 1994. Started with a company and they had a couple of different positions, sales associate, they had wardrobe consultant, management, assistant manager. I was on the bottom of the totem pole. Matter of fact, they didn't really want to hire me. But the manager at the time saw my energy, saw, my eagerness, and just wanted to do right, whatever, brought me on at the end of the totem pole. Worked with them for about 2 or 3 months, and they were notorious as sending their salespeople or consultants, whatever you call them, to their special training. So I did that, and toward the end of '94, I came back to that particular store. It was in San Antonio. It was in a small. It wasn't a rural area, but it wasn't the most dominant or prestigious places. So it was a low volume store. I think we did something like $900,000 a year or whatever. But there were things happening for the store, for the company. And they were opening up all across the different parts of the country. And before I got to that though, I wanted to move to a higher volume store. Or my manager wanted me to move to a high volume store. But the politics got involved, and the district manager was like, nah, he not ready, he green, he not ready. So they put somebody else in that spot, and lo and behold, opportunity came about 120 miles up the street from San Antonio to Austin, and I jumped on it. So I was at a low volume store in San Antonio. At the time, the company had probably about 170 some odd stores, and they were in the top or the bottom. They were like the 150 some odd stores as far as volume was concerned.
But this is what we're talking about, a company that's a national brand.
Yes.
And that it had at that time close to, you could say, for argument's sake, you could say that they probably had close to maybe 60% market share of men's suits sold in the entire country.
Yeah, by all means.
And you were working for this company, but I want you to take me back to when you really appreciated the garments and the clothing. Where did you first find that appreciation? And that's where I really would like to start.
So I got my real appreciation when I left the low volume store in San Antonio and ended up in Austin, Texas, near a college town or college campus, and the people were coming in that store like they were giving away cheese. And so I had to learn more about the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of the garments, because these consumers were not idiots. They were smart consumers. And so I couldn't not act like I knew what I was talking about. So I had to find out about, the mills that we dealt with, the garments, the fabric, the counts, all of those things that I, as a salesperson, needed to know to show my worth for someone that's coming in. It wasn't just a matter of putting a suit on somebody and saying thank you and go for the next one. I had to give them, benefits. I had to give them features. And so I had to learn a lot about that. That's when I learned to appreciate the garment itself. I remember one of our buyers was Mike. I can't remember his last name. I think it was Mike Myers or whatever. But anyway, Mike kind of took me under his wing when I got to this area and told me how the buying was done, the bulk buying and all that good stuff. And so as an individual, you want to do your homework and get the knowledge of the garment itself. That way it shows your worth to the consumer coming in, purchasing that they're not just putting a garment on, but they're making an investment in a piece of wardrobe that could do a lot of different things. And so that's when I got to appreciation.
So when you came to Washington D.C., because we both came to Washington pretty much at the same time, and the thing that I was most amazed by you is that you came to Washington pretty much by faith, because I can imagine you telling your family, hey, you know, I'm going to Washington D.C. to advance my career in the clothing business. I'm sure your family must have said, you know, man, you crazy. You must be out of your mind.
They did. They did. I got ridiculed from family. Pretty much some of my colleagues, other than my mentor at the time. Because really, as this company was opening up across the country, there was an area in St. Louis. And at the time, my best friend was from St. Louis, and he just moved back home. And so I called him and said, hey man, guess what? I got an opportunity to come and move myself to that area. You know, what's the ins and outs? And lo and behold, he was like, this, and this. And so I was headed to St. Louis until my mentor pulled my coattail and says, Vino, I know you want to go with your best friend. You want to do this, you do that, have fun or whatnot. But I have firsthand knowledge that the company is going to open up on the East Coast. They're going to start in the Carolinas. They're going to go to the Philadelphia market. They're going to go to the DC market. They're going to go to the New York market, all on the East Coast. And you think that you're here in the state capital making some money. You wait till you go to the nation's capital. And lo and behold, I came here and I was selling more suits on an accident than I was on purpose when I was back home. And so that again put a light bulb on that. Look, these guys in the East Coast, they ain't no dummies. They want to know what's going on. They want you to know that you know what's going on. So I had to buckle up and learn that fabric, learn this business, and it's just been doing it, man.
So I want you to talk about that first year that you were in Washington, D.C., and this is the part of your career that's the most amazing to me, is because after that first year you moved to Washington, the Washington, D.C. district became the #1 district in the entire company.
Yes, and so
I want you to take me back to San Antonio a year later. And not only take me back to San Antonio, take me back to the very first managers meeting. I think that was in Pajara Dunes in California.
Yes.
Take me to that scene.
So
when you were confronting your colleagues from San Antonio, tell me about that.
So the funny thing about it was I don't want to say ridiculed, but I was made fun of, or whatever the case may be, that I was leaving my nest, my home state, to go to the East Coast, that they weren't really sure of how well received the company would be. So I came here based literally on faith, and I left a pretty decent store in Austin to come this way to further my career, because I wanted to see how I could cope with just being on my own. And some of the stories or some of the things that I got are like, man, you crazy for leaving home, something that you know, to go to an area of unknown. And I get that. But when we came to the DC area and we established our persona of the way that the store was ran and how we received our customers, it just took off. And the DC market became the #1 market in the company. And I was at 3505, of course, you know, that was our Fat Fake store, and we were doing some great numbers.
But you're getting a little ahead of me.
Oh, my bad.
You're getting a little bit ahead of me, because I want to paint the picture of your success in this business around that time.
And they just kind of pulled me to the side and said that we need you to do some bigger things. You're a salesperson now, but we need you on our management team. And I didn't think much of it at the time because I was just, all I knew was the sale.
But because see, the store at that particular time in Virginia was doing a tremendous business. Mm-hmm. But for me, when you came into the store, it really took the store to another level, and I'll tell you why. See, you were a beast on the sales floor. I mean, you could sell ice to a Eskimo, and you also had a great talent at the operations side of the business. And that really was the side that all of us were lacking in. And you brought that added value into the store. And to me, your presence there was like LeBron James going to the Lakers in the sense, because this is a real business.
Yeah.
And we're planning to do like multi-million dollars in this store. And you really took the store from a $1.7 million store to almost a $2.5 million store just on your presence alone.
Well, a lot of that is, I knew we had the experience and we had the talent. We had you, we had Blaze, we had Don Harris. We had a number of guys that had way more experience than me. I had a lot of energy, and where I lacked in experience, I wanted to make up in energy. And so I knew how the store operated. And so since I had those operating things in my system, I just wanted to come to a particular store and say, look, this is where we are. This is how we got to get things done. I wanted to create a fun environment. That was what they were big on that. So we had the experience, we had the fun, and I just wanted to bring a lot of energy to it. And at the time, even though I felt like I could sell, I just thought it was more important for me to have the operation aspect of it down to a science, because we all could sell. But what I was bringing to the table was that company's way. And
exactly.
I think that way is what I was trying to instill in everybody, from the salespeople, the seamstress, our tailors, the whole team, because I know it was a team concept. Because again, me, I can't sew. I can sell all day long, but if I can't sew, that means to me the sale is not final.
Well, that's the mantra of our business. We sell the garment, but it's the tailors who have to deliver the garment.
Absolutely.
So I want to take you to a place where you decided to start your own business as an independent professional custom clothier. And I want you to walk me through that process of your career, because that, on another side, you went by faith to basically take your skills and to start your own operation. And talk to me about that.
I tell you how that happened. I had confidence in myself that I was a pretty good salesperson. I think clothes just happened to be the fabric or the material that I was selling. I could sell refrigerators, furniture, whatever. But I think after my third or fourth year actually here, one of my good friends at my church at the time, he saw in me that my love for dressing up, getting dressed, getting other men dressed, and I had stepped away from this company and I was doing real estate. But I married the two together, the real estate business of having your own business and then the tailored clothing business. And I was with another clothing at the time that showed me a lot of ins and outs as far as custom is concerned as well. And I just learned and developed those skills along the way. So I took what I learned from this company as an operational standpoint to the love of the garment itself, to being able to help an individual. And so my goal became, or my number one aspiration was to have my own haberdashery, to be able to help individuals look their best at any given event, whether it's work, whether it's a wedding, whether it's got to go to court, a job interview. I want to help them look and feel their best. And so that's what my love and appreciation of wanting to develop and cultivate these skills came into play.
So now take me into your day-to-day operations in terms of developing a relationship with the people you bought your fabric from, developing a relationship with the people, your tailors, and the people who are going to do the behind the showroom kind of work. Tell me how you develop those relationships.
It was just a matter of just being out there and knowing that I couldn't do it by myself. And so I wanted to try to make myself available to the idea of doing it the best. Whether I try to be the best at whatever it is I do, whether I go to church or whatever business I'm a part of. And so I sought out the people that I needed to seek, from the mills, the factories to deal with, some of the master seamsters to deal with. You know, I learned a lot of different things from a lot of different people along the way. And so I just tried to capture bits and pieces here to try to create my own niche, so to speak.
So now take me into the mill. Let's take a deep dive and just put a sharp point on your relationship with the mills and picking out fabric, because that's why they call this the rag trade, because we deal with fabric. So elaborate a little bit about that process.
So that process, I partnered with another gentleman to where he kind of brought me in, kind of like something that was already done, but showed me the ropes of creating relationships of people that were doing something that I couldn't do, putting it together, seeing how it was all manufactured, going to quote unquote some of the best mills in the country to pick, obviously when you're making clothes or automobiles, yeah, you can get your fabric from different places, but the people that are putting it together make all the difference in the world.
So now that I have you in the tailor shop, you are talking about the fact that these are the people who need to deliver the garments, and I want you to talk about that relationship a little bit.
Well, you think about tailoring, and they're usually in the back, and it's not always the best condition. It's a little heated back there. It's not cool, and so, but they're grinding. They're sewing, stitching, doing this together. So my idea of creating a great relationship with them is not kissing up, but is to make them feel as important as the customer. Because I know I don't exist without a customer. But it's not only that for the customer, for me, I can't exist without my tailors. Because again, I can sell all day long, but if the finished product is not good, what am I selling? Nothing. So I do my best to create a working relationship with my tailors at all costs, because what they do is by far the nucleus of what I end up presenting to my clients.
So now you talk about the little bells and whistles that go onto the garment that really highlights the great craftsmanship of the tailor. Talk about the little detailing. Talk about like ticket pockets and pick stitching and half linings, because with a half lining or no lining, it really shows the craftsmanship of what the tailor can do. Talk about that issue a little bit so that we can highlight what goes on off the showroom and the great craftsmanship that we find in the many tailors that we employ.
I think a lot of what we do can't really be seen with the naked eye, but I pointed out to my clients, like the pick stitching, the working buttonholes, the half lining, the canvas, all that we use. I try to give them a little bit of education on our process so they can understand that it's not just something that's thrown together, it's quality. I mean, it's like selling a house. You got two houses next to each other, they look great, but you go inside this house and they got the standard stuff. But you go in this house, they got granite counters, they got hardwood floors, and so it's worth more. And when I tell my customers what goes all into making our product, it makes them appreciate what I deliver so much more.
So now you, as an independent men's clothier, during the pandemic, talk about how this virus has affected your business.
Funny you should ask, because yes, it has affected my business, but I learned a long time ago, regardless of what you do, you need to find your niche. You need to market to your particular market. You know, years ago I used to work for a department store, and I won't say their name, but you know, it was like when you walked in that store, you knew where you were. And so I say that to say that I try to find the best fabric, the best product to deliver, because I want to give my customers a #1 experience. And so during this pandemic, we've had to do some different things. You know, what I love about exactly where I'm at right now is that my #1 client is a guy that's getting married. But it's not only that. And I say that because after this guy gets married, guess what? He comes back to me for other clothing needs that, you know, whether he was wearing suits before, he's now getting suits from me, or he was a young cat that didn't wear suits before that, but now is seeing the need to wear suits, and now that we give them such a great fit and a great experience, they come back. So the pandemic has hurt the business a little bit, but people are still getting married. And the fact that they're still getting married and we're still showing them love, our business has not altered one bit, really.
So now you know, this is Fashion Week, and I want you to talk about what the business is going to look like for fall and winter. What do you think men will be wearing? Because it's my view that because of social media and Instagram, and people are very conscious about their images and things like that, people are going to still be dress conscious.
They are. And then you're going to have guys like myself, other image consultants that are trying to educate those. Right now, because of where we are with this pandemic, it's probably the best opportunity, the best time to start an entrepreneurship, whether it's your own business or whatever. And what we do is we educate, or we give illustrations of why it's necessary to have said garments, because it's better to have a good quality garment in your closet and not need it than to need one and not have it.
So now you're optimistic about what's going to happen going forward.
Very optimistic.
Now tell me how you utilize social media.
That's our #1 tool, because everybody's on it. And so you just gotta start, you just gotta, you know, put yourself out there on it, you know, not your personal business, but I put about what we can offer, what we do. We give some commentary about dressing itself or whatever, but we use social media to the fullest of its capacity, because that's where we are right now. The millennials we're in a millennial world, and technology, internet, all that is, without that, you're not surviving.
So, man, thank you so very much, Vincent. It's such a pleasure, man. I remember when we first met in the mid-'90s, and we were all down in Fairfax, Virginia, and I noticed that it was the very next day when you came into the store, I knew that I was in a different place. And the energy that you brought, and your expertise and the things you were knowledgeable about, you really made us. You made us a better company. You made us a better store. You made us better people. You brought a wonderful enthusiasm and youth, because you know we were all old timers, and you brought a wonderful enthusiasm to the store, man. And I just want to say thank you very much for your time, brother.
Kevin, I want to thank you for this opportunity. You know, my business is my life, and I love talking about it. You know, the fact that you're doing stuff like this is very meaningful. And even though you give me a lot of credit, man, I get a lot. I've learned a lot, and you're one of my clothing mentors as well. So I want to thank you personally as well for what you do and what you offer, and just keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thank you so very much, Vincent, and looking forward to seeing you real soon.
Indeed.